Knee on belly is exactly what it sounds like. It's not neon, N-E-O-N, just to clear that up. When you're going to knee on belly, there's different ways to get there, but if we're going from side control, it's a positional advancement and it's a transitional position. So whenever I pop up to this position, you can do it a couple different ways. And just put my hands on the floor and pop up to knee on belly here. I like to ride fairly low most of the time. I try to get my shoelaces hooked on the outside of his hip here, and I want to try to ride my shin across his lower abdomen most of the time. Now, this is for the riding of the position. And then my hands will go to his hip and to his shoulder or to both shoulders here a lot of the time. But you need your hands to stay mobile because I'm gonna have to be doing something and attacking with those. Now, you can also do more pinpointed, like here. If I don't like the energy that you're giving me when I'm rolling with you and I want to settle you down a little bit, then we'll do that a little bit more. So I want the knee directly in the diaphragm. But typically I just want the mobility and the stability of this position. As far as the supporting leg, the knee typically is not going to be on the floor. The foot is going to be on the floor in line with the shoulder carriage here, like that, right? And again, we're just kind of riding this position. A good way to test it out is to have him kind of like move laterally, not like shrimping, but just kind of moving laterally, and see how I can post and position like this here, right? And then switch to the other side. When I go to switch, I'm going to swap my feet. This foot's going to come to my butt, and then the other one's going to leave here, this way. And then we'll do the same thing. He'll kind of move laterally a little bit and make sure that I can kind of follow here, right? So let's do that where I pop up to knee on belly, I get my position comfortable, he moves a little bit, I follow, and then we switch the other side and do the same thing. Okay, let's go.
Go.
So here, that's like the slow version.
The switch slowly.
That is preferable. But just for practice sakes, just pop up to knee on belly, all right?
Okay.
Think like you're surfing, you know, and trying to pop up on the board here. As far as, and Mike asked a good question, like what's the weight distribution? Slightly more weight here, right? Slightly more weight on the knee that's on the belly. That's one of the main reasons that I don't like for people to drop this knee, which again is not wrong. There may even be preferable times for that, but it tends to take the weight off of the body and also tend to get more off balance that way. Whereas this is a little better of a kickstand, right? As far as the replacement step goes here, I'm gonna like, if I do it slow motion, I'm gonna try to kind of hook that hip and pull that other leg off, right? But usually it's gonna be a hop. This one's gonna leave slightly before the other one gets there to replace it, right? The next drill for it though is over here. I'm gonna step this foot across so that this heel is in front of this knee. And then when I stand up, I'm gonna replace this knee with this knee here, right? And now this one comes off. Okay. So knee step, switch, step, step, switch, step. Try not to kick the head, right? And again, don't try to keep your hands under the person when you come up to knee on belly, right? Just do a push up. Push up, make the space, fill the space, right? And this is, knee on belly is one of the best for it because you can do this, you can get to the switches, right? You can just work on hopping up and down on it. You can make that full spin off of it. You can also, from here, you can also look to transition to things like this. And that's how you're gonna set up like armbar things. You can go side control, knee on belly, to mount, dismount to knee on belly, to side control. So there's lots of ways you can put it together. But let's look at what we can do as far as submissions go off of it, right? One of the most common submissions that you'll see from knee on belly is that whenever you pop it to this position, he's gonna look to get you off of him, right, obviously. And a lot of the time he'll go directly to the source, which is the knee, right? So when he's pushing on the knee here, like this, then again, like as he's pushing, I wanna resist that so he commits to that push. And as he's committing to that push, he's generally gonna make a space right here, right? So when I see that space, I wanna go palm up, and I wanna scoop here by his tricep tendon just above his elbow, like that. And I wanna pull, like I'm trying to pull his elbow toward my face, this way, right? And then this one's gonna help that as well. So I'll go on the back of his shoulder or the back of his head, and I'll pick him up on his side. And then from there, I'm gonna put the weight on my foot on the floor, here this way, right? once I expose the back, I'll step over here this way. When I step, I'm trying to pinch the knees as I get here. And then as I go to sit down, I'm gonna grab this leg and sit here this way, so he doesn't like spin away from me. I like it if my foot can wind up under his armpit like this, that's good, right? And then I'm gonna try to squeeze the knees together, and then this hand comes off to grab and extend his hand. I don't personally like to ever remove this arm or remove my hand. There's not a good reason, in my opinion. It's not a great reason, there's a reason to do this. As soon as I do that, as soon as I start to let go, he's gonna start pulling that elbow in. This tends to keep his elbow locked in place a little better. And it also helps with the fulcrum too. Right? So, we get here, he goes to push my knee off of him. As he does that, I'll palm up, I scoop, I try to pull his elbow toward my face, I pick him up on his side, and I step across. That's why we practice that spinning thing, you know? So then once we get here, as soon as my hand leaves his leg, it comes and catches here by the wrist, and I unfold that. As I unfold it, I squeeze the knees tight together here this way. Okay? Does that make sense? The right on the shoulder I go, the less I'm gonna be able to pick her up effectively. But look, you see how that like lifts and exposes her back? When I pick her up on her side, when I step here, if I step and this is loose, she can start to turn, like get on her back, start to pull her arm back and everything else. So when I step, I want to sandwich here. She tries to pull her arm out now, it's gonna be a lot harder. Right? And then if we have material we can grab, like if we have the gi on, right, specifically, I'll grab the material. Since we can't grab material now, I'm gonna grab the leg instead. So then as I go to sit, I sit straight down as close as I can to her shoulder, right? I don't wanna have too much space. Now, the foot tucked is generally always gonna be inferior to the leg across, but it's faster to get there, right? Again, if we have material, I could hold this and then free my leg, but I don't have the time right now because I don't, that's gonna create too much space. I'm not gonna be able to maintain control on our leg. So when I go back here, I squeeze here like this, right? So now once I get this extended, this hand's coming off and going here this way, right? Now if you got somebody with like crazy flexible elbows, which is weird, but like if you do have that instead, the squeeze is the main thing. Most people will be tapping right here, right? But then you can start lifting your hips, and if you absolutely need it, you can just start taking this south to the floor this way, right? You see what I mean? Yeah, no, it's creepy, yeah. But that's, if you do have somebody and you're here and you're lifting and it's not getting the job done, start taking it south, right? This way here. Because now I've got all this space, right? Nobody's elbow is that flexible. Going directly to the source of the pressure on the knee, sometimes he'll try to push this leg away, like no, he'll try to push here, or even on the hip or on the chest or whatever, right? But if he's pushing this side instead of the knee on this side, then I want to take what he's giving me, right? So when we get here, I want to scoop here by the tricep tendon again, right, just above the elbow. And as I go to pick it up, doing a couple things, I'm gonna take a little baby step back this way to remove his attachment. And I'm gonna slide the shin up to his armpit, right? Kind of like a baseball slide here, this way, right? So I'm posting on the floor for this one, and right beside his hip here, right? And I slide this way. Now, once I get my shin way up into his armpit this way, I wanna pick his wrist up toward my armpit, still holding the elbow the whole time, and then I'm gonna step across this way, right? If I feel like that's gonna slip out, just let it, and then grab the wrist instead, right here. If you don't feel stable, you can sit down here, right, and finish. But I like to try to finish it while I'm still on top of him rather than default falling off of him, right? For most all arm bars, because like that way, if I'm not getting it, I'm still on top. If I fall off like a kind of traditional way that we usually do an arm bar, then, well, now I'm on the bottom, right? He's gonna pop up, he's gonna be inside my guard at best, if not on top of me, right? So one more time. Popping in this position, he's pushing on my supporting leg this time. I'm gonna C-clamp here by the tricep tendon. I'm gonna slightly move that leg back, right? And then I'm gonna slide my shin way up here into his armpit, right? And then I'm gonna step over the head this way here, right? So it's a nice strong pinch here, making sure he can't remove that arm. I'm gonna hold the wrist and I'm gonna start pushing my hips forward and through this way, right? If I do fall off, I'm gonna keep the grip on his hip on the far side. I don't want him hitchhiking away, right? That's one of the main reasons why the leg configurations are as they are whenever you sit off, or the way that we're holding the elbow is the way that it is. Because one of his most common ways that he's going to look to escape, especially whenever I've got the foot hook style armbar, is if we're here, one of the most common ways he's going to look to escape is running those legs away, right, like this, yeah, and getting out, right? So I don't want that to happen. That's why I'm either grabbing the leg or the hip or whatever on this, okay? The shoulder between my knees, this way. Personally, I like to keep this knee above the ground. And once we get here, I need to make the switch with my arms this way, right? This is not it, right? Switch here, right? And then from there now, I use the rotation of my body more than I use my arms to finish that. I'm trying to put these two knuckles on the small of his back essentially, but not like this, right? I'm turning the torso.